And good morning. It's Sunday morning, and the clocks have gone back here in the UK, and it is light. So this time last week we were still in the dark. Anyway, this is Alan Cox, your one host for Inspirational Voices, and my very good host, Gillian Haslam. That lovely laugh, I can hear her now. Hello, Jill.
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Good morning. Yes, we've had a few technical problems this morning, but thankfully we are here now. So that's the main thing. And
yeah, but that's to be expected. That's fine, Alan, with all the clocks going back, etc. That's fine.
Yes,
it's be okay.
There's no problem. That's good. And we've got two incredible guests this morning. And the first one, and it's going to be a pleasure to talk to the Hollywood film producer Cyrus Yavnah in a moment, and I feel we're very, very fortunate to have him on. I believe it's about midnight or thereabouts there at the moment. So, and I believe Cyrus is on the line now. Hello, Cyrus.
Hi, Alan. Hi, Gillian.
Hi, Cyrus. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. It's only 12:15. It's not bad. I didn't go out to many wild Hollywood parties. Actually, I've been here reading.
Yeah, all right. You've been a good boy tonight, then, ready for us.
I have.
Oh, no, I like that. Well, first of all, welcome to the show, and it's a very special show, really, because it's obviously it's about yourself, but it's also about you're going to be the producer of a major film, Indian.English, which is based actually on Gillian's younger life. And I find it quite incredible that we're at a point where I know Gillian's always wanted to get a story out there, and it's quite a major thing, isn't it, Gillian?
Absolutely, Alan. You know, sometimes I think I have to pinch myself to even understand how we've even got to where we are. But, you know, I'm so grateful to Cyrus, honestly, for coming forward and even accepting the project. And, you know, like I've always said, Alan, I'm doing it for a bigger and better cause. It's just because there's just so many people out there who've lived the life I've lived, and I want to try and help them in some way I can, that's all.
Well, to start off, Cyrus, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know, so people get some kind of
Sure.
idea, about yourself and whether you've always been a producer, that type of thing.
Well, I was born and grew up in Manhattan. Lived in a very multiracial sort of neighborhood, but growing up in mid-Manhattan, you walk from one street to the next, one avenue to the next, and you pass people who are very wealthy, who live in the neighborhood, people who have next to nothing, and everything in between. And there's so many different languages spoken that growing up in that environment, I got to appreciate all the differences and different people, and that, we all sort of could live together, and everybody got along well, and it was a wonderful place to grow up. I really thought I was in the center of the universe. Once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker. So.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, I've never been to New York myself, but I know quite a few people who live there, and hopefully I'll go one day. It seems a very special kind of place.
When the movie opens in New York, we'll go and have a party.
That sounds
Absolutely. You should go, Alan. I've been. It's honestly one of the greatest cities on earth. It's really great.
It's crazy how many people I actually know through my radio show who live in New York, and yes, it did feel like coming home. So now about getting into the film business and to become a producer, how did that kind of happen?
Well, I didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be a producer. I thought I was going to be a musician, but I didn't practice enough. I went to music and art high school, which is the Fame School, and from that, my cousin was a fledgling producer. I became his sort of production assistant and runner, and then I met up with a fabulous producer who did very low budget movies, so I became his chief cook and bottle washer and learned a lot. And also, we went on the road on a big magical illusionist show, which at that time it was still we would play audiences in towns of about 40,000 people, and it's a great experience. And that led to me working in Las Vegas in the New Frontier Hotel when it was a major showroom. I was the youngest stage manager, and I had learned my stagecraft. And then I all of this happened during the summers because I had to finish university. And once I finished university, I got a job as an assistant production manager of a very big international commercial company. And I worked my way up to be a production manager and then an AD and then a producer of commercials. And then I decided, and this was all in New York City, I decided to go freelance and never looked back. And I wanted to do more theatrical things, and at that time New York really didn't have that environment, so I moved to Los Angeles and worked my way up. I came here as an assistant director. I got jobs as a UPM, and then I started getting jobs as assistant, associate producer, and then producer, and then off we went. So I've done practically all the jobs.
So really, to get to where you are today, it's I suppose the whole thing has been an education, really, isn't it? To learn the industry, and to get to the point where you've been involved. Well, you've been producing major films and TV series. I mean, these type of things doesn't come overnight, does it, Cyrus?
No, you sort of. It just sort of is a natural. In my case, a natural progression. I love being an assistant director. You get with a great director and a great cameraman and crew and cast, and it's like playing. It's like a ball game, and everybody has their position, and it's exciting. And then you get to a point where you go to the next place. At least I did. I have some friends who stayed as assistant directors, and they have great careers and are enormously talented. But I just took a different route, and I'm very grateful for it. I've been all over, not all over the world, but quite a few places. It affords me a good living, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Every day is a new challenge.
And what do you think is the hardest reality, for up and coming producers? The biggest mistakes that perhaps younger producers could make. Perhaps it's their approach, handling the business end of things.
Well, right now there's practically every university in the world offers media studies and film courses, and it's a whole new world now than it was when I was in my early 20s. Now anybody with an iPhone, a computer, and an editing program is a filmmaker. It's up to them what to do about it. A lot of people say, well, I want to be a producer, I want to be a director, I want to be a writer, I want to be this, that, and everything else. But it's a lot of hard work. You have to have, whatever you do, you have to have a passion for it. If you don't have a passion for it, and then it isn't going to happen. what I would suggest, what I do suggest, I have several young filmmakers who I unofficially mentor with, but that I try to be helpful to and encourage, and just do your work. Read plays, go to movies, see shows, read from books by producers, by directors, become a sponge. And at the same time, get a job, whether it's in the film business or not, but get a job that can sustain your interest and also pay your rent and your phone bill. And, business-wise, you get to a point in your film world when all of a sudden it's not about survival. It's hey, people are hiring me. This is interesting. That's a big moment in my life. I realized that I could make it because it's scary. There's no one paying your rent, no one paying your bills, and all of a sudden you're making enough money to do what you love doing. And at that point, your career sort of finds its own path. And in my case, I was pretty much freelance my whole life. And I enjoyed being freelance because I could, maybe a job was 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months. But at the end of the 6 months, I was free to do whatever else I might want to do. And the choice of my jobs really depended on the state of my bank book.
Yes.
If I didn't have any money and the phone rang, I'd take any job. If I was flush and I got 2, 3 job offers, I could pick the one I wanted or not take a job. So for any producer is find material that you love, or create the material that you love. Get with your friends and make a movie, make a 1-minute movie. Go through the experience of getting it into festivals. If you want to be a writer, find out who's reading for the studios and the independent film production companies and television production companies, and make a pest of yourself and try to get a job as somebody's assistant.
Well, I'm sorry, Cyrus. No, obviously you've gone all through this, and a lot of youngsters. Some people, they think they're looking for instant success, aren't they, Jill? It needs
absolutely. Like Obama says, they all want the fast cars and the big houses and the fame and the name, but they don't want to work for it.
Well, we're talking about fame, Cyrus. You're an Emmy-nominated and PGA Award-winning producer, and you have produced some of the greatest series on the planet. So, would you tell us about some of your successes? And about your favourite and best movies and serials that you've done.
Well, you never know what's going to be a great success. Well, at least at that point in my life, when the phone rang and I took a job, I read a script and said, "Hey, this is pretty good. I could get behind it," and I get enthused about it. And my first producing job was a wonderful television show called Michael Nesmith in Television Parts. We took stand-up comedians and on the spot pretty much wrote tremendous production values based on their stand-up work. And we had Jay Leno, Whoopi Goldberg, Gary Shandling, so many people, Arsenio Hall, so many people who went on to be big stars. And that was very exciting. I'd just gotten married, and it was my first major network producing gig. I loved it. We came in last in the ratings every week, but the show was so far ahead of its time. Another show that I really is probably the most important to me looking back was a show called Nothing Sacred, which is about an urban priest who was questioning his belief in God, and a nun who thought the church was too misogynistic. It wasn't a religious show. It was written by a Jesuit priest and a wonderful writer who happened to be Jewish. And it gave the audience something to ponder. We won the Peabody, the Humanities, all kinds of very, very prestigious work. But the network, which was a major network show, got very, very nervous because it was controversial. And even though it was great, they pulled it off the air, and they didn't allow it to succeed, even though our numbers were getting better and all of that. But it has a life of its own, a show like that. You could see all the 20 episodes of it on the internet, and it's used now for ethical discussions.
All right.
And it was a great experience for me. And Bill Kane, who is the writer, I've always written a little bit here and a little bit there, a short story, a poem, but I came up with an idea and co-wrote a script with him that got produced, and he gave me my voice. He's a great writer, and he said, "Hey, this is pretty good." So that was very stimulating for me, and it helped me going forward. But I've been very, very fortunate to work with some spectacular artists and good people, very talented people. And you're always learning. Every day is a new day, and it's a wonderful adventure. When I read Alan, I know you introduced me to who Gillian is, and I'm very grateful for that, because aside from Gillian being who she is, her story is very universal and very vibrant and very essential, and it should be told in a great, sweeping, dramatic way. Not necessarily that it's Gillian, but in a big, dramatic story, so people could come away with a wonderful experience, an uplifting experience. It's going to be a tough movie, but because some of the things that Gillian went through is unbelievable. It's horrific. It's almost indescribable, and then yet because of who she is and who her parents were, and even through this horrible experience, has come out with not only success for herself, but her whole mission in life.
One thing I'm sorry, Cyrus. No, what I was going to say was, if anybody at all can bring that to the screen, I know that you can. I mean, from your credits from before, I know that you did some of the series of 24 and Supernatural, The Arrival. I mean, if you go on Wikipedia and look down the list of all your great films and TV series, I mean, quite seriously, the list is as long as your arm, So I know that you're the one person that can really make this film a major
Thank
success. Would you agree with that, Gillian?
Of course, Alan.
I'm asking a silly question there, but I'm going to have the answer.
Well, I'm very grateful to Gillian to have the trust in me, but I'm a tough customer. I want this script to be a sweeping, dramatic story that tells, but not just tells, but the audience feels the horrific nature of what went on in Gillian's life, but what goes on today as well. But I don't want the script to be, some public service announcement. I want the success of the movie, and it will be successful, is that it will tell a universal story in a great dramatic way, and it will resonate. The sublime message of it all, the Gillian's gift, inspiration will resonate, not because of who Gillian is, but how the story is told. And when people get out of the movie house, they'll think about it, and maybe a week later something will happen, and it'll bring, something very kind to composure. There's one moment in the book, well, there's many moments in the book where, if I get this right, Jillian, correct me, but it's sometimes the poorest, most humble people in the most mundane situations can offer a smile, a piece of bread, some kind of kindness that makes all the difference in the world. And I love the idea of passing the kindness along. If someone's kind to you, go down somewhere down the road, you're going to pass that kindness on, and it's better for everybody. And that's a wonderful concept. And I think this movie will bring that to people's sort of soul, if you want to use it, so that's the goal. It's a wonderful opportunity to make a wonderful dramatic film with top stars, top director. Everybody has to be up for it. It's very vital to get the right people, and that's what our intent is. We're going to get the right people. We're going to make something very significant, and it will make, it'll make its box office, and it will resonate further down the line, so that the charities, people who will be more open to charitable attitudes, and that would, be the gift of Jillian to this project.
Would you
and
say?
I think that.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Cyrus. When you were reading the book, when you read the script, was it like, well, yeah, I want to be involved with this. I can make this happen. Was that your initial thoughts on it?
Well, my initial thoughts is how. First of all, my initial thoughts was some of the things that I read are just, horrific. I can't. There's no other word for it. It's. I've been the impoverishment, the lack of hope, the particular circumstances Jillian's family was in, burying a few of her siblings because of malnutrition, and of parents who are loving, kind, and thoughtful people just find themselves in a situation that the dad got sick and it became very untenable, and two little girls had to fend for themselves in a horrific environment, which even though it was 20 years ago, whatever, or 30 years ago, that environment still exists today. The events in the movie are happening today just as they happened 30 years ago. So that's something.
It's quite incredible, Jill, isn't it, that it's almost like in parts of India that time has stood still, really.
Oh, absolutely, Alan. I'm just listening to Cyrus, and it's very emotional for me. But
yes,
I think Cyrus's message is crystal clear and absolutely, resonates with mine. That the message of kindness is so important because it's really those people who were the poorest of the poor who saved our lives, and that's really my message. That if all of us on the planet can just be a little kind and just give back, irrespective of what we have, we can just help people to move on and go on. I wouldn't be on the show today if it wasn't for the poorest of the poor who helped save our lives, And even now, even Neil, he's just got won another competition to be mentored to improve the script. He's worked on the script for 2 years, had 50 revisions, and he's worked on it heart and soul, and he can't wait to work with Cyrus and to get Cyrus's views and to help in any way he can to get the same message out,
So I was going to ask you, Cyrus, and I suppose in a way I think you've already answered the question. But you say that this film has got the potential of being a blockbuster, and how do you feel that that can happen? How you can make that? But I've got a feeling you've already answered it. But please.
Well, you on a picture like this, you need the script and you need the actors who the audience can relate to. You need the director and the whole team to create the sweep of the picture that it becomes real. It's not just a watching experience, it's a feeling experience. When people see and experience some of these horrific things, they will be amazed. They'll be shocked. I want to shock them that this can be happening today as well as 30 years ago. And at the same time, it's a dramatic story, and when the picture ends, they will have felt a real important inner experience that, even though they might not be able to talk about it, right after the movie, but it will stay with themselves, and they'll talk about the movie, and they'll tell their friends about the movie, and it will become a very, very important movie, and that's the goal. We want to make it's just not making a movie. The movie takes so much time to do, and from start to finish. They're just the script writer for 3 years, and if we started today, it would be at least a year until it's finished, and then it's going to take time to sell it and put it in theaters and schedule the theaters, and then everybody goes to the movies and have a 2-hour experience.
I'll tell you what. I'm sorry. We can go into that side of it in more depth, because the producers have put some amazing questions together to ask you. So
sure.
I think right now, Jill, perhaps we ought to have a break, a song.
Yes, thanks, Alan.
Are you all right, Jill?
I'm all right.
I know how much this means to you. I really do. Knowing you now and you're a good friend, it means so much to me that you have the success and being able to help all the people. So I'll take us to a break. We'll play a song, and then we'll be back with Cyrus Yavnah, the Hollywood film producer. You're listening to Inspirational Voices radio show. So let's have a break. Cyrus Yavnah. Hello, Cyrus.
Hi.
That's good. I just said before the break, talking about the actual film, and you're very good at preempting what I was going to ask, because I said, when will the shooting start, and in how many countries? I know that you said, well, that takes a bit of time, and also what kind of approximate kind of budget it takes for it to be a blockbuster.
A blockbuster depends on, and forgive me, I don't mean to sound pedantic, but it doesn't necessarily depend on the budget. There's some pictures who have spent gazillions of dollars and haven't made a penny, and there are pictures who have spent a little money that have gone through the roof. But this picture needs, to do it, needs about 20 million pounds. And that's sort of, it's not a low budget picture, it's not a high budget picture, but it is a significant budget picture when you think of 20 million pounds.
Yeah.
I think that if we started, we're sort of in pre-production now, but I was hoping that we could finish the shoot sometime in 2016, and then sell it and exhibit it in 2017. And I think, based upon where we are now, I think about 85% of it will be done in England, about 10% in India, and about 5% in Southern California.
Right.
I think that's how it's going to probably break down, just as a guesstimate.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because
you could build your sets. There's a lot of set work involved, and that could all be done in London. They have beautiful facilities, or other parts of England. They have great facilities. They have great incentives. We have to shoot the slums of India, and not just like a newsreel or sort of documentary, but we have to put our people in there. We have to put the young cast in there.
Well,
we have to be authentic, and then we have to be in Southern California for just part of it.
Yep.
Not a big part, but you go from the beautiful, lush scenery in Southern California and contrast with what's going on in where we're going to be shooting in India.
Well, you mentioned actors and that. With regard to that and a director, you've got people in mind who.
Well, there are great filmmakers out there. It depends on their availability when we're ready to go and their interest. But in a wish list, if I could put it that, I love Tom Hooper. He did King's Speech. He has great sensitivity to the material. I think Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu is a brilliant filmmaker. He has a sense of scope and style. He did Birdman. He's a wonderful filmmaker. And there's another fellow who I really think he's probably the number one television director in the world. He's done a couple of low-budget features early in his career, but he's done the biggest television. He's just won an Emmy for Game of Thrones, and he's won another Emmy for a war sequence, and I've worked with him a few times. David Nutter, exceptional man, and what he is good at is he extrapolates in a filmatic way great emotion and also has a sense of action. And not action for action's sake, but how to develop the drama to bring out the most emotion. So he is literally the number one television director in the world. And another guy who I like, he's an English fellow, Steve McQueen. He did 12 Years a Slave. And I thought he brought color to it, and that's not a pun, but he was able to extrapolate this story about this man who was a free black and was sort of hijacked into slavery for 12 years. So those are the type of directors. Each one is different. If we did this movie 4 times and gave it to each of these 4 directors, it'll be a different movie, but it would be a good movie, and it would be telling in a beautiful way. Although different people bring different things to how they tell a story.
And with the actors and actresses, who do you think with their availability would be good?
Well, they're brilliant actresses. We're talking about playing the late 30s to mid 40s part of Jillian, and the people who I really like, I love Kate Winslet, I love Reese Witherspoon, Keira Knightley has a lot of emotions to her. Kate Blanchett just won the Academy Award, and there's another wonderful actress, Rebecca Hall, who is the daughter of Sir Peter Hall. And those are wonderful actors. And it would be, who's available, who we would go for the director first, because that person, he or she, will have a great deal to say about his cast and who he wants to work with. And it's also who's available and how the marketing looks as to who would be best suited for this role. They're all great. They're all superb artists.
Also, to making a successful film, it might in some ways seem a small point, but I suppose the title of the film is very important, and at the moment it's based on Gillian's book Indian.English, and there might be a possibility perhaps the name might change.
Of course, but that will reveal itself as we go through this. I can't say what the picture should be named if it is in India.English. Right now, it's a working title.
Yes,
and and that's fine for now. Somewhere along the line, we'll have moments of inspiration as to a name, and there's also discussing it with our marketing people, who are very, very important. There's a lot more to making a movie than making a movie.
Well, yeah, and I was going to ask about the publicity and the marketing and that, because that's very important, isn't it, Jill?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Before we get off the director and actors, there's a couple of wonderful actors and actresses. Bill Nighy. Can you imagine Bill Nighy and Tilda Swinton? She's very. You need a thin actor to play the mother because of all the hardship she went through. And there's some wonderful English actors: Anthony Hopkins, Charles Dance, Donald Sumpton, John Hurt. So the world's open to us. These are the quality of the artists that we would go for, and that would want to do this movie because of the material.
Yeah, well, yes, because I feel that any actor reading the script and perhaps they've read the book, I can't see how any actor or actress wouldn't want to be involved in it.
The first question that's come in is that looking at the poster that Neil prepared for the Monaco Film Festival, where Neil won the award for the epic and in the epic and historical category, the little girl on the picture looks a lot like Gillian and reminds me of Angelina Jolie. Is there a way that Angelina can be approached for the role?
Of course. Angelina Jolie would be a lovely choice. I think the material, she probably sparks to the material because she's very interested in a lot of these similar, in helping young people and with disease and opportunity and hunger and whatnot. She's a brilliant actress, and would be wonderful to be in this picture. And certainly approachable.
Great. The second question is, Gillian is the author in all of this. What is an author's role when making such a movie?
Well, you're also one of the producers, but at some point you have to see if you're happy with the script. Once you get a director involved, by that time, he's the conductor of the orchestra. All the shading and colors and inflections and tones. It's one thing if you get a great conductor, he'll have, or she will have very, very important ideas. But prior to shooting, we will have several meetings where it's an ongoing meeting where we talk about the tone of the scenes. What do we want out of each scene? How are we we're not going to tell the director how to play it, but he's going to want guidance. He's going to listen to what you have to say, what I have to say, what other people have to say. And then, you bet on the horse and you let him run the race. Right. So it's an ongoing situation. And the fact that you would be there for the shooting, I would hope, would be good for the actors, because they're going to have a million questions for you. And it's at that point you become sort of the technical advisor almost, but as far as how to shoot the picture, that's up to the director with our help and blessing. And then obviously if we think there's, if we come up with a suggestion or two, hopefully any good director is a collaborative person and will listen. But ultimately, on making a movie, we want to give the director, especially the quality of directors we have here, give them not free rein, but give them the reins and be there to support the mission. And that's how I see it.
Great. Thanks, Cyrus. Sharon, I hope that answers you, because I know that you are an author too. And Sam, I hope your question has been answered on Angelina Jolie. So over to you, Alan.
Okay. You obviously you've read the script, the manuscript of the book, Cyrus. What are your what's your favourite parts of the story, and perhaps more importantly, or most importantly, what do you feel about Gillian wanting to tell the world how the poorest of the poor save their lives, and what incredible people they are?
Well, obviously the story resonates, the situation, the history, the experience. For me, it's a window into a world I didn't know very much about, and as I've been researching, I'm finding out more and more. But it's about, basically the story's about people and feeling, and how they felt, how the characters felt and interacted in their life experience that we will be telling. We will find those moments in the book and the script, and in this, lots of discussion with Gillian, how it really was, and that will inform how we tell the story.
That sounds really good. Yeah.
To say there's a favorite moment in the script. To see a child, an infant, put in a throwaway wooden crate with a tea crate, from the back of a supermarket or something, and that's the coffin of your brother or your sister or your son or daughter, is just, to me, it's not a favorite moment. It is a horrific moment, but there's life. There's one of the girls, I don't know if it was you, Gillian, or your sister, brought a pillow and put it under the infants, the deceased infants, their siblings' head, so that it'd be more comfortable going on. How do you say that's your favorite moment?
I suppose it's a moment where it, shall we say, resonates the most. I suppose that's probably a better word.
It's one. The picture is how also the story of how a very, very, very bright man, an officer in the English Army, who thought his future was in India, but then decided to stay with his wife And this was way before Gillian and her younger sister were born, but yet, this was after the Raj in the late 1940s, and his situation turned bad, and they were stuck. And to understand that, but to understand even with all this, hardship and unbelievable grief and sorrow, how this man and this woman, Gillian's parents, were able to persevere in the most horrific conditions and yet be parents to their children. That's a powerful moment. There's also the environment that Gillian grew up in, being English, poorer than poor in a society that really didn't want English people there at that point, and because she was English and Caucasian, was the ridicule and the recipient of horrific bullying. And at the same time, there's another story to be told, because of this vast population in India, that the men, and this is true in the world today, the men are horrifically repressed sexually, so that they somehow feel empowered by ignorance and just whatever the word is. I don't know. I have to, I've been thinking a lot about it. It is a horrible not masochistic, but male-dominated world, and it still is. So many places, and it's based on ignorance, stupidity, and thousands of years of not inbred, but of sort of teaching. And that itself is, it goes on today as much as it went on in Gillian's time. Look at that girl, I think her name is Malala, is that her name?
That's right.
Yeah. Nobel Prize Peace winner, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's these horrible people, they're, come in and shoot a tiny little girl because she wants an education. And that's what, 3 years ago or something like that? So there's so many. I don't want the movie to be the movie will not be successful if we're on a soapbox.
No.
We have to tell a story, a dramatic story that's compelling. And the resonance of that will happen in an organic, sublime way. And because of that, Gillian's brand for good, if you want to call it that, will be nurtured by it.
In terms of publicity, how do you intend to publicise this and get the recognition that it deserves?
Public relations and publicity and advertising is a very vital part of making a movie. You have to let the audience know what kind of movie you're looking at. You can't tell people who don't like horses they're going to go see a Western, or you can't sell a sandwich to a guy who just had a steak dinner. So how you position all that is something you start thinking about at the onset. As we get into it, we'll be talking to pre-sale people and producers rep and distributors rep from the get-go, based upon who our cast and talent is and director. We'll begin to shape a market strategy for different countries. We'll do it by cutting trailers out of scenes. Once we start shooting, we'll start letting people know this picture is happening.
Yes.
It'll be on YouTube. There'll be snippets of it. We'll build an interest in it, and it will continue to evolve and build and until we know exactly. We've agreed on exactly how we want to position this, and then it's positioned different places in the world. It's not the same advertising in in the United States and England that it'll be in France and India. You know, it's a very, very vital part of the success of a movie is how you handle your publicity and the advertising. We'll also have with our main characters and our director and Gillian and the writer and maybe myself, we will go on TV. We will do a tour. We will publicize this picture and tell, you know, and fascinate the people so that they want to see it. That's an art form in itself.
You know, people talk about the movie Slumdog Millionaire and about how the kids are still living in poverty and that. And you know, now that you know Gillian, you know a little bit more now, and definitely the causes that she fights for. How do you intend to contribute to this cause and help her to achieve her dream? Would that really, I suppose, in a sense, what you'd be doing with the film, in a sense, will help that, won't it?
This movie is not Slumdog Millionaire. This movie is, although that's a lovely movie, and I didn't know that a lot of the kids still, you know, haven't profited or gotten out of their economic situation. But this is going to be a sweeping drama. People will want to see this movie. People will talk about this movie. And if we're successful, and we should be successful doing that, then the picture will make money. Yeah. People want to see things. People will tell each other, hey, go see this. I just saw a movie yesterday. Wow, man, you won't believe it. There's, you know, that's all a gestalt between public relations, putting out good material, and making an excellent movie, which will do all of those things.
And also, Gillian, you know, within her community, there's some people, a few people, would want to contribute or feel that they'd love to contribute to the money by way of their music, maybe a song. Would you consider this option?
Well, yeah, great ideas come from all different places, and if somebody feels, you know, inspired to have a song, then we'll be happy to listen. Does it mean the song's going to get in the picture? No, but it might.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture will have a soundtrack. The picture exists in two different time zones. It exists, you know, in the late 50s, early 60s and onward, and it exists in 2016. So maybe we'll have a theme that will run through the movies. Maybe we'll have a theme song. Sometimes a theme song can help a movie, but it has to relate to the movie in such a way that when people hear that song or hear that melody, they immediately think of this movie. And that's something that will evolve. There's no way of knowing that at this time, or it's something we're definitely going to investigate.
Now, we're virtually out of time, but I've got one more last question that the producers have asked me to ask. What can something like this do for changing the world? You know, a world which is so much sadness and need. What are some of the key messages you would like the world to receive from the movie?
Well, I would like them to have found the 2-hour experience nurturing, that it is sustaining them in a visceral way. They will understand that moment of kindness and that whole concept of passing on the kindness. And I think when people see the movie will pass on the kindness, and people will feel that. And in their life going forward, they will be able to do that better. And at the same time, I think in another way, it will help the Jillian's brand, which her total focus is to help people, help young children out of disease and intolerance and hunger and abuse. And certainly that's something, and education. That's something, if a movie could touch upon those things, then we'll have been extremely successful.
Cyrus, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been an utmost pleasure. You're so interesting, so informed, and your professionalism, just shines through. It's right, isn't it, Jill?
Absolutely. Cyrus, after listening to you, I just want to say that, there's a number of movies out there today, example, Slumdog Millionaire, or even The Best Marigold Hotel, to a degree, that, I feel that look down their noses at India. And I want to make sure that, we try to bring out the positive aspects of that country, that incredible country that has really helped me and my family so much. And, I can't thank you enough for absolutely zeroing in on the message that we intend to give to the world. My dad was married before, and obviously had a family previous to us from the time of independence to the time I was born. So this is about them. This is about all of our people who went through the good and the bad. And this is also about, as you said, 30 years later, there are people going through similar miseries even today, and your message has just meant so much to me. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. The intent, is never to disparage. It's to reveal and inform and to create an environment so things get better.
Yes.
So India is a great country. It's a burgeoning country. But I remember having a conversation with my brother, and essentially he said, I said, well, there's so many more people better off. He says, yeah, but there's so many more people in the world that there's just the same amount of people who are not well off, only because there's so many people. And that's also an issue, not of this movie necessarily, but it's true. There's India, as far as I know, is a burgeoning middle class, but there's still such abject poverty. The same in China, same in a lot of places in Africa. And I think this movie has a universality to it that is just not about India.English. It's more about universal.
Cyrus, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much indeed. We do have to end the interview, unfortunately. But coming on, we've got Neil O'Neill, who is the screenwriter. So,
and Cyrus, he's going to touch base with you in time, very soon, maybe on your next visit to London.
Whenever, I'm happy, looking forward to it, and please send him my best regards, and enjoy the rest of the interview, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you again.
You have a restful night. Thank you very much indeed. Right, what an incredible guy. Really interesting, isn't he? And then, all things being equal, we should have Neil O'Neill. And we're back. Inspirational voices you are listening to. You've just been listening to an incredible guy, Hollywood film producer, Cyrus Yavnah. And now we've got another incredible guy, screenplay writer Neil O'Neill. So welcome, Neil, and I'll hand you over to Jill.
So Neil, let's, in the interest of time, obviously, let's rush through. I have so many questions sent to us by our PR guys, and this time the questions haven't been put together by our own producers, so let's try to hurry through them. So let's start with asking you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
So, I've been married for 19 years, and I've got 2 beautiful children I'm very proud of. And my wife is an inspiration to me, and she supports everything I do, especially this film and all the work I've been doing with Gillian. 9 till 5, I'm a computer specialist, and 5 till 9, I write and produce films, as well as playing in a band and running an internet company. So I think that's a quick rundown on where I'm from.
It's just as Cyrus said, people should do, isn't it, Alan?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So Neil, were you always keen to work in the entertainment industry, and why was that?
Yeah, I started off really with music, getting involved in concerts, playing in a band. And I really enjoyed the energy of performing and getting people involved in music. I started really early at the age of 16. A huge lesson I got at the beginning, for my 16th birthday, I wanted a bass guitar. So I asked all my friends and family to put some money together to go and buy an electric guitar. It was, I always remembered, it was £32. It was a Jedson Telecaster from Jones and Crossland in Birmingham on Broad Street. And the one thing that I remember most from that time is when I was given the guitar for my birthday, I heard my father speak to my uncle saying, "What a waste of time and money that was. He'll put it down in 3 months." And those words have stuck with me forever, and they have driven me to want to succeed and to, from the underdog, to be able to prove I can achieve my goals. And it was great about 11 years later when I sent my father my first album, which got into the German charts. But I've used that philosophy going forward, that you can always do what you set out to do if you've got the passion and drive and you believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you've put it so well, Neil. Thank you. So, Neil, what are the steps that anyone can follow in order to qualify as a good screenwriter or maybe a producer? What would you say?
Somebody said if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you become successful at it. Now, although I believe that to be true, I think if you've got the desire and commitment, you can do it in a lot less. And, at the moment, I do talks on the art of screenplay writing for film clubs around the UK, and I explain to them, like any subject, once you understand the grammar and the format, you can easily learn the art of script writing. It's a very specific format. Hollywood, you can send a beautiful script with a great cover, but if it's not in the right format, they'll throw it in the bin. It could be the best script in the world, but if it doesn't look right, it won't get through to them. And people need to understand the grammar of script writing. They need to understand what producers are looking for and the format. It's so different to write in a book. In a book, you add the colour, you describe the environment that the characters are in, the sunsets, the colour, the leaves. In a script, you don't do that. That's left to the director. You just put down the frame of where the scene is and some basics about the characters and the interaction. All the painting of the picture is done by the director. So that's the big difference in writing screenplays. And once you learn those rules and the format and what people expect, then it's just a matter of practice and reading other screenplays.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree with what Cyrus says. Go out and make a movie. If you want to write plays, make movies, make that 1 minute movie, even with your iPhone. There are competitions now for people making films with iPhones. I made a 2.5 minute movie recently with an iPhone. There's no excuse of the cost and the technology anymore. Anybody can go out and make something, and with YouTube, it looks like everybody is doing that, and there's a whole new generation and wave of people creating new material. So if anyone's got any interest in writing or making films, go and do it. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah. Neil, you were spot on. It was Malcolm Gladwell who wrote the book, The 10,000 Hour Rule, and I couldn't agree with that more. But if I ask you to just talk to us about, or give it to us in 3 tips of what do you think, is the hardest reality for new writers? And what is the biggest mistake that some of them, can make, both in their script and in how they approach people or handle their business end of things?
Yeah, well, okay, I'll give you three tips that I've learned or seen in the 15 years I've been writing screenplays. I think the hardest thing in screenplay is to finish one, especially a feature. That is it's like a book. It becomes part of your life. And the longest journey in any screenplay is the 24 inches from your head to your hand. Everyone says, oh, I've got this great idea for a film. But getting it down, writing it, and seeing it through is very, very, very hard. It's easy to put a few lines of a treatment or a few lines of an idea, some sort of synopsis. But to write the full feature, until you do that, you can't call yourself a screenplay writer. And the experience of going through that and completing it gives you the confidence then to be able to hone your skills and go forward. So the first tip would be finish a full-length feature if you are serious about writing screenplays. And then you need people to read it. That's my second tip. And okay, it's nice to get your family and your parents to read it. And out of politeness, they're going to say, yeah, that's nice. You need to give it to people who are going to be critical. You need to people who are going to be honest. And quite often, the best way to do that is send it to a script doctor. These people read them day in, day out. And they're fairly brutal because they know they're being paid for critical advice. Quite often, their feedback is hard to take. But if you can take that on board, if you're flexible and you follow their advice, you can really, really improve your script. So my second one is give it to people in the industry and get it read. As many people as you can, but generally not your friends and family because they'll just be too nice. So my third tip then is once you've got your screenplay, once you've had it read by a number of people and you're happy with it, then you've got to get out and promote yourself. You've got to go to events. You've got to meet people. This weekend I'm at the London Screenwriters Festival where there's about 1,000 budding scriptwriters there, all trying to get to know what's the best thing to do with the script. And you need to go to places like this to get yourself known, to have your face seen, and to have your chance to pitch your script and your ideas to people in the industry. So those are my 3 top tips.
Great. I'm sure people will benefit out of all of that, Neil. You know, all these upcoming youngsters who really and truly want to make it to the top one day, just like you or Cyrus has. You know, you mentioned, Neil, in your bio that I took a look at actually during the week, that after 13 years of learning the trade of a screenwriter and the mechanics of the film industry, it's now time to step into the big league. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I think by any trade, you go through an apprenticeship, you learn the etiquette of the trade, you learn how it works and functions. And you get to a stage when you've been doing it long enough that you have the confidence to step up and play with the big boys, so to speak. And I think I've done my apprenticeship. I've made a number of short films that have won some parochial competitions. I obviously had the award in Monaco. So I think I've earned my colours, so to speak. And I would really love to be able to do this for a full-time career at the moment, writing scripts. You know, it doesn't pay at the moment. But in time, I'd like to be established as a screenwriter and be paid to do that. And I think your story, Gillian, has inspired me so much. I think it's my best piece of work so far. And I believe, having listened to Cyrus, that this is going to happen. And I really think now that I can start to look at making a living out of this, yeah.
You know, Neil, they say that, you know, not everything is about money, you know, at the end of the day. There's so much that people do, you know, for no money at all. And look at you, you've won so many awards. So, you know, that in itself is huge payment, right, for what you've worked on for so long.
Yeah, I didn't start off writing screenplays to make money. I started off because I enjoyed it. I love films. Yeah. I like writing. It's there. I want to say something. I think we've all got something to say.
Yeah.
And I just found a medium that I really like saying it. It would be nice if I could earn a living from it. I don't need to be rich and famous, but if I can sit at home with my family and write screenplays, to me that's utopia.
Yeah, but Alan, it's exactly what Cyrus was saying, right? You've got to be so passionate about something and you've got to believe in it so much. Yeah. And this is why we're on the show today, Neil. It's about, you know, not just about the story or the movie or me or anything. It's about also, you know, giving something back to our listeners and to show them how far and how hard you've worked. Bob came on the show the other day, Alan, and he talked about hard work, and it's only hard work that can get you to where you want to be. I mean, Neil is a prime example of that.
Well,
really.
that's why we get up at like 5:45 on a Sunday morning to get ready to do this show. If we worked on 9 till 5, you just don't get anything done, do you? It has to become part of who you are. What you do has to become part of who you are.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have to become, I don't know what they call it. I'm doing I'm delivering a course next Saturday on the ultimate business machine. I think that's what it comes down to. You've got to be everything,
Yeah.
Okay. So, Neil, these are some very difficult questions for me also because, obviously the story is mine. But moving on, when obviously these questions have come from a PR company, as you know, but so I have to ask them. So, when were you commissioned? And what were your first reactions when you read the manuscript or the story?
Okay, I think it was about 2.5 years ago when you contacted me. And I'll be brutally honest.
Yes.
I write dark drama thriller with twists in, and I'd never considered writing a memoir. So I was very surprised when you called me, but I listened, and you were very convincing. So I read the manuscript. And wow, it touched my heart immediately. And Cyrus was talking about a certain scene earlier, and that was the one scene that really affected me, seeing a child put in a tea chest to be buried because you couldn't afford a coffin. That moved me deeply. And I thought, I want to write this. I can see it visually in my head. I saw that scene, I saw those images, and I thought, I want the world to see this. And when I read the manuscript again and again, there were so many parts that came out to me, and it touched a part of me inside that I probably didn't know I had, because I'm a Brummie, I'm a rock fan, I'm a bit macho, and you think, oh yeah. But then when something touches you like that, it changes your whole aspect and your view on life. And I was taken by the story, and I thought, I've got to write this. This is means so much to me, and I think it's brought my best piece of work out as well. Yeah.
Great. And so, what are your current thoughts, Neil? Now that you've spent so much time on edited 50 times now or something?
It must be at least 50. I'm on version 10, and each version has at least 4 or 5 renditions. It's strange. I feel part of this story. I feel as I know it so well. I feel as though somewhere in my past, I've been in the back streets of Calcutta and understand it and feel it and breathe it. It's become part of my fabric. It means so much to me, this story. It's such a strong story. And as Cyrus says, it's global. And there's a message. We've got children today who, especially in the UK, they've got their iPhones, they've got all their social media. They don't understand what's happening in these third world countries. They don't know. They wouldn't know what it was like not to have a phone, not to have shoes on your feet, not to know when your next meal is. And I would really love the youth culture to see something like this, to kind of say, oh, hang on. What's all this happening? Is this real? So I want to see it as a wake-up call to the world. I want to get out, and I'd love to scream from the highest mountain, world, wake up. This is where we are. There's still a lot of problems to sort out. So it's the message has become stronger to me the longer I've been involved with it.
Since I've got to know Jill, every single day I think of India. I think of Jill. I think about what we're trying to achieve. And I've always known that there's been poverty in India, but it's struck home to me. So, Julian, if that's anything to go by, 2 people here saying the same things, just imagine what it's going to be like on a worldwide scale.
Oh, Alan, that's exactly why I'm doing it, because, you can't really be so passionate about something until and unless you've actually lived it or experienced it firsthand. And, I've been there, we've lived through it for years on end, and I just want to help, the hundreds, thousands, the millions to take a page out of my book and to know that, as I keep saying, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it.
Yeah.
That's my message. So, Neil, coming back to you, how did you know that this is going to be the one step into the big league for you, as you put it? How did you know this?
I think we all have a second sense and a gut feeling. And when I was writing the script, it flowed so naturally and things came out that it was so organic. I just thought, this is right. In my early days, when you're trying to write a script, you struggle and you lose plot. You get writer's block, you go back to it, it doesn't work. But this gushed out of me, and I felt this is what it's like writing a successful film. It has always been. I've always felt like that with this particular project. It's been so natural, and to me, if it feels natural to me, I'm hoping it's going to feel natural to directors and producers, and that's what makes films. There are a lot of films out there that can be wooden, or they can lose sight of messages. But this one, the whole feel of it made me realise, if this one's not going to make it, I don't think anything I'm going to write will make it. Gut feeling, I suppose. And also the response. I've had a great response from all the script doctors. Obviously, there's always technical things you can improve on the script, and the script is never perfect, and it'll evolve until the actual last scene is shot. But the feedback I've been getting throughout has been so positive that, the signs and signals are there to say, well, this is going to be a movie.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you. And so, Neil, what does it take to get something like this out there, and why is it so important to you?
It's nigh on impossible. You've got thousands of scripts, and you've got the biggest problem with making films, especially features, is budget. And a lot of movies don't make money. And because of that, a lot of these studios look for what the trends are at the time. And there's a lot of youth culture films out there at the moment. Horror is always very big. Cyrus was talking about Games of Thrones at the moment. TV series are huge. Breaking Bad. So many times somebody will look at a script and think, where's the commercial viability of this project? And unless you've got something that's commercial, it can be very, very hard for anyone to even look at it. So, i.e., or Indian.English isn't at first glance something that's hugely commercial. When you read it and understand it and realise the global impact, then you can see the value of it. But because the market is set up in the way it is, it's very hard to get these type of films made. I mean, we're very, very fortunate having Cyrus, who gets this 100%, and his contacts and his power and his energy will be the thing that gets this made. But generally, it is incredibly hard to even get a meeting. Most people, unless you're accomplished, they're not going to speak to you. It's a catch-22 situation, because you can't get accomplished unless people listen to you. So it's very, very difficult. And I know we wouldn't be where we are if Gillian hadn't put all the work she's put in today with the script. On my own, I could never have done it.
That's incredible advice, isn't it, Alan, to anybody who's trying to do something, like we had Serena on the phone earlier with this question for Cyrus about, what is an author's role in all of this. I think that's so valuable to anybody who's going to even try to do this.
I agree, Jill. I mean, Neil is multi-talented, because we've got a song of yours to play. For a break. So shall we have the break, and then we can come back and talk more?
Of course.
And this was inspired by Gillian's story and the script.
Okay. Right.
Yes. Neil, also before you play it, Alan, Neil, tell us, it topped some a video chart, right? Tell us about that.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, after I wrote the script, I wanted to share it with the guys in the band, and I gave it to the singer. I said, Jeff, look at this. You've got to read this. And Jeff read it, and the next day he called me and said, I've got some ideas for a song here, let's do it. So we got together, went in the studio and recorded it, and again, we put a video together and we entered it into the Beat 100 music video charts, and within 2 or 3 weeks, it got to number 1.
Brilliant.
Wow, it's incredible. Let's listen, Alan, and then we come back really soon because we're running out of time.
Okay, no problem. And welcome back to Inspirational Voices. I'm Alan Cox, one of your hosts, and Julian Aslam. Jill is here now. Hi, Jill.
Oh, hi, Alan. Welcome back, Neil. We've got quite a few more questions to go through, so let's get on with it. So, Neil, the script, it won the Best Screenplay Award, right, in the Epic and Historical category. Tell us a little bit about where you won that award and any other awards.
Yeah, that was at the Monaco International Film Festival. That's a festival for non-violent films, which obviously this story isn't violent. It's tragic. It's poignant. It's sensitive. It's certainly not violent. So it got picked up there, and that was a great experience. They're wonderful people. I went out to the festival, had a great time, and it made me feel proud. And I suppose it also endorsed the fact that other people, when they read the story, it gets to them. Many of the judges I spoke to, and they said it really touched them as a story. So that was the first kind of recognition of Gillian's story in the film world. It won a mentoring lab yesterday, and yesterday I was working with an accomplished screenwriter talking about frames of films and how you use certain tools to tighten and improve a script. Because I know that any producer or director will want to change the script. That's natural. That's the way the film industry works. They have their visions, they have their ideas. So I know it's going to go through a number of changes. And this weekend I've listened to a lot of screenplay writers where they say the script only starts actually when you start making the film. So going to all these sessions and getting all this recognition is going to help make a much better script in the end.
That's amazing, isn't it, Alan? After all this time and all these years, it basically only starts once a movie is, commencing production. That's amazing. Wow. Well, Neil, what is your... sorry, Alan, go ahead.
No, it's you see, I believe that everything is about timing, and I feel that the time is right now for this film, for the whole project and everything. And I do see that it's going to bring so many people together, and I also see that it will be a big wake-up call for millions of people over the world.
Oh, honestly, if we can all just do that, and I'm sure we will, it will be a job well done. So, Neil, what is your role in the making of this movie?
Okay, obviously, as a scriptwriter, I would hope to be involved in future rewrites, work with the team that Cyrus puts together, try in every way we can to make the best script for the cast that he chooses. Sometimes it may be one of the main actors or actresses that come back with some ideas that change things, and I would just like to be part of this process, because filmmaking is very organic. And I just don't want to drop the script off and then run off and undo another project or another script. I'd like to see this through to full delivery. I've been there at the conception. I certainly want to see this baby delivered. So, but again, I don't have a lot to say in that. That's up to the team that Cyrus puts together, and I'll respect any decision that he makes. But I'm there to support and help in any way I can.
Great. Oh, wow. But then, knowing you, Neil, that's not surprising. But anyway, Neil, you know a little bit about, a lot about, what I do and really why I'm so passionate about this whole thing and why I've driven it so far. And Cyrus had 2 or 3 amazing messages that came through, without even having to ask for it. He just kind of knew what he had to put out there. So, to ask you a similar question, how do you see the world being helped or the people reached? How do you intend to contribute to this bigger objective that we are trying to achieve?
I think we have an opportunity to give some very strong messages to the people who want to listen. You can't tell people who don't want to listen.
Yeah.
But if we can engage them with this film, because nowadays with mobile phones and tablets and YouTube, everything is visual. People on the bus, I go to London nearly every day on the train, and everyone's watching a film. Everybody's locked into visual entertainment. So we've got a tool now to get to nearly everybody on this planet, and we just need to make sure we get some strong messages through that people take notice of. And one of the lines in the script, which also came from the song, "Hope is rarer than gold," it's just a very short, simple line, but if people think about that, there's a lot of people who feel desperate, who think their lives are difficult, but I want them to realise that their life is nowhere near as difficult as it could be, or how it is for other people. And I want them to think, well, actually, my life isn't that bad. There's hope for me after all. And I want them to be able to turn to their family and friends and say, look, guys, things aren't that bad. Let's be positive in life. Let's step up a gear. Let's not feel sorry for ourselves. Let's just go ahead and do the best we can do. So that's the messages I want to bring to people through the script.
That's so great, Neil, because, my tagline for all the foundations I run in India is literally one line, putting the hope back into hopeful,
Yeah.
So I think that kind of boils it all down. But let's ask you. Yes, sure, Alan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Neil, one thing that your screenplay did for me, it's like you brought it almost like 3D on the paper. But brought the whole thing to life. You've got an incredible talent there. Very good.
Thank you.
It does, yeah.
One thing I did want to say, what I've tried to do, I've tried to make the script's really got two journeys in it. It's Gillian today going to give a speech as she is today, and then through flashbacks we see her past. But I wanted to make the journey of today normal, that people can understand and see in their life. Most people go to airports, get on a plane, go on a journey, meet people. They have road trips. They trip across people's lives. I want them to be able to relate to that, and then for them to be able to see through the flashbacks the strength of Gillian's individual personal journey as well. So I was very conscious. I wanted to keep this so anybody from any walk of life could relate to the normal day-to-day living and how we could bring this in.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's so important also as well. So, Neil, now that we are on this important part of the program, tell us a little bit about the main characters and who you feel should play those roles and why.
Well, obviously, Gillian, your character is the main character. This is definitely the journey of a woman, and I mean, we saw last week Suffragette come out and saw how poignant and how important women's journeys are in life. So I think this is another great opportunity to show a woman's journey as well as a journey of survival. I'm similar to Cyrus. Kate Winslet, I think, is a great person for this. I like Maxine Peake. I like Sally Hawkins. There's a lot of there's so many talented actresses out there at the moment. Angelina Jolie would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That'd be way beyond my wildest dreams. And Cyrus threw in a name that I thought was really good, and that was Keira Knightley. And I think she is a phenomenal actress. So again, she could do this justice. And the other two key roles in the current life situation, there are two guys, and Fassbinder. There's so many good names that that could play these roles, because they're strong roles to play against Gillian in the journey.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the flashbacks, there are children. I don't know many child actors, so I can't say that. And that's the beauty of a casting director. Yeah. They find the perfect fit, so I couldn't choose those. But again, Cyrus mentioned some good names for your parents. So Anthony Hopkins. There's so many great names that you come to mind.
Neil, I know that you were very zeroed into Mrs. Cleophas. Tell me about who you think should play her role. I'm very keen to know that.
Oh, every time I read that, it breaks my heart. I don't know why, but I find that character, that and Ashok, although they're just secondary characters, to me they're very powerful because what they stand
Ashok,
for.
the tea guy, right?
Yeah.
His life, yeah. Tell us.
Yeah. Now, Mrs. Cleophas, I see Maggie Smith, I see Judi Dench. I mean, even Emma Thompson, if she put a bit more makeup on. I want a fine British actress to do that. So yeah, Mrs. Cleophas, she's a tragic case because when you first read about her, she's very, very cruel, and she gives you and Vanessa such a tough time. But later you realise, she's a flawed person, she's a flawed character, and we should see past that and see the good things that she did and the fact that she did help you and get you through a difficult time in your life, and when your mother wasn't able to support you because your father was ill. She was there. She just wasn't very good at looking after children, but in her way she did what she could, and that's such a human aspect we need to understand in people. We're all flawed, and if we can see each other's flaws and help each other with them and respect them and understand them, we'd all get on so much better.
That is so true. That is so true. Incredible. So, Neil, overall, tell us about, and I know I've been talking to you from time to time, and you've been so excited about this whole project. So tell us about some of the excitement that you feel and what this means for you in the future, your future.
Well, I'll tell you what, listening to Cyrus early on has kind of taken it up a few notches on my level of excitement. There's always, when you talk in projects and you get involved, you become very passionate. You say, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And you hope for this and you hope for that. And then after a time, the things don't always come to fruition. You think, oh, it's not going to be as great as I thought it was. But this one, it is continually surprising me. From the awards, from the song getting in the charts, from people speaking about it, from the feedback from top scriptwriters, and then to hear Cyrus say what he says about the film, it's just going up and up and up. So my level of excitement, it grows on a weekly basis, and every now and then if I get distracted, Julian, just a call or a note from you, or just looking on Facebook and see what people on Facebook say, the momentum and the energy hasn't stopped. It hasn't died in 2.5, 3 years, which that in itself tells me, this is a roller coaster ride, and hold on tight, because this is where you've dreamt of going, and this is where you're going to go. Because I want to write. I'm getting to an age in life when I've got a lot to say, and people say much too much sometimes. But I just want to sit down and have a space to write and give the years of my life and my experience and my knowledge and the stories I've met, and tell it to people who want to hear. But I think this story is a story that everybody needs to hear, not just wants to hear, needs to hear. And this is a stepping stone for me to get out there on my soapbox and say, we've got a story to tell, guys, come around and listen. And I once I'm up on that soapbox, it's going to be difficult to get me down.
I really think that there's only so many films over the years that can actually make a difference to how people see the world, and I do feel that this is, shall we say, I would say that this is the one. This is the film that will make people sit up.
That's wonderful for you to say, Alan. And I was speaking with Gillian earlier this week, and at the moment the film industry is clearly split between Hollywood and Bollywood, and there doesn't seem to be a film that crosses both audiences completely. Slumdog nearly got there, but I think a film that has such a global reference to everybody could cross both those markets and join them in the middle, and I'm hoping this film can do that.
Neil, I think you've kind of just reiterated what Cyrus said as well about it, and that's so amazing. But like I've said to Cyrus, people in some movies, they tend to look down their noses, at India. I want to be able to actually bring out the positive aspects of this country and about my community, the Anglo-Indian community, and how warm we are and how, incredible we are. And as Cyrus said, it's not, about my dad's ex-family or the people who suffered with me or after me or before me, or whether I made it through, or even if it's 30 years down the line now and people are still going, through that. Cyrus is so determined to turn this into, a great movie, a blockbuster, so to speak. Do you agree with that?
100%, 100%. Your story is important, but it's part of a big picture. And it's a picture that has to get out there. There's an imbalance in this world at the moment. Yes. And we want to make sure it doesn't get too far away. There's a lot of crises on the planet in different parts of the world, and a lot of people are suffering. And we need something to unite us all, for us to just look at the basics of humanity, basically, to say, hang on, we're just people, we're all the same, we can all help each other, let's not be on sides, let's be together. And I think your message from your life shows that India may be poor, but it gave you the strength, it's made you what you are today. You've come through the really tough part of India, yet the benefit and the fruits from that journey, and yet you're now paying that back to everybody, and that's come from a difficult situation. So life doesn't have to be good for us to benefit, and that's the beauty of this story. No one's got an excuse anymore. They can't say, well, I'd be better if this happened in my life. No, you can be better as a person. Be the best you can. If we all did that, wow, what a place it would be.
That's so amazing, isn't it, Alan?
It really is, Jill. I'm sorry, we are running out of time. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left, Okay. So.
I'm pretty much done, Alan. You can ask Neil anything you want, but before you do, Neil, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for working on this with me, and this whole journey. And I don't know, we're probably half the way now. We've had so many discussions, meetings, calls, I don't know. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you for giving me the chance and believing in me. You don't know how much that means. Thank you.
I'm really sorry that we had technical issues at the beginning, Neil, but the thing is we got there in the end. That's the main thing. And I am looking forward to getting to know you as well. So
no problem. Yeah.
So we're going to have to wind it up now. I think it's been an incredible 2 hours. Thank you for everybody for listening. Thank you, Neil, for being with us, and to Cyrus, and of course to Jill, because Inspirational Voices radio show wouldn't even be here without you.
No, and you, Alan. Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been an incredible day, an incredible morning, and speaking to 2 incredible people as you wake up. Oh my God! Bye. Thanks, Neil.
And we'll see you next week. So.